Wine globally has become so boring. Same old grape varieties, same winemaking process. What I think a great wine is a wine full of personality. You can taste the individuality of the person who makes it. It's all about translating all that beautiful weather, all that soil into that wine. So I'm in Georgia, tiny country stuck between Russia, Armenia, Turkey. No one's really heard of Georgia, but in fact, in this place, they make truly innovative wines. They have traditions that date back thousands of years, and they have a way of making wine, which means that they add very little, so it's very natural winemaking. So I want to find out whether there's a future for these highly individual wines. You look through these little streets, and actually there's like grapevines everywhere. In the middle of Tbilisi, it's just quite incredible. Look, 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 look. Oh my God, I've never been to this market, and look at it. So I expect to find lots of vegetables, but apparently this is a grape bazaar. So this is where people come and buy all their grapes to make their home brew. Oh my God, that sweet paprika smell is unbelievable. Oh, thank you, Tidi Madlovar. Is it lemon from Georgia? From Guria or where?
Da.
This is basically what Georgia is like. You come here, people want to feed you, they want to give you wine. You know, I have never, ever encountered anywhere else any people that are so hospitable. And the first time I came here, I met this extraordinary guy called Echo, who was so inspired by my stories about the vineyards and making these wines in Georgia. He decided to make his own, and so I'm off to go and meet him now. Echo! Hey!
Isabelle.
I'm sorry, I've got
Good
a bit...
to see you.
Nice to see you, but let me just drop this off, because look, I've been
let me
plied with presents en route.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Are you ready?
Sure.
Are you ready for adventure?
I'm always ready. I'm like a soldier, just for drinking and eating, having Supra, I'm always ready.
I've never seen a great bazaar before.
In Tbilisi, we have about more than 10 of these bazaars now. This is one of the most important cultural basic for Georgians.
Yeah, and exactly that's what it is. You know, grapes and wine are basically like a staple of Georgian diet. Everybody's living it. That's just why I love Georgia.
Me too.
Yeah,
Can you imagine how I love my country?
I know.
Are you hungry now?
Yeah, I'm very hungry.
I'm going to take you to the place where we face a lot of surprises for you.
Okay.
So let's go.
Okay, cool. So a little bit of information about Georgia. They have been making wine for over 8,000 years, and it is believed to be the cradle of wine. Isn't that right, Echo?
Yeah, we are the inventor of the greatest pleasure in the world.
In life.
Yes.
There's vines everywhere here. Even the alphabet is shaped on the vine squiggles.
And the word wine came from Georgian word vino.
You really need to come and have a look at this place. It has mountains, the sea, there's wolves, bears. A quarter of the land is under national parks.
Yes.
Wine is produced absolutely everywhere in Georgia, apart from some mountainous, remote area. Otherwise, the biggest wine region by far is a region called Kakheti, which is to the east of Georgia. But this amazing tradition was really under threat in 1921 when Georgia was incorporated into Soviet Union. And now what we're finding is that people are recovering from that, and they're having to learn again about making wine of quality rather than making bulk wines. But at the same time, people are also trying to go and sell their wines in supermarkets, and what they're trying to do is fit within a certain taste profile. You know, maybe they think that us in the West want to drink. So what I really want to try and do is talk to them and say, stop building modern wineries, stop using so much oak, and go back to really understanding your own heritage, and then shout about it and then tell the world about it.
That's a great thing that you are here. Georgian survived too many battles. So this is another one for Georgia. Battle for Georgian wine.
Isabelle Legeron.
Juice! How much?
Juice!
How much?
Juice!
Ah, that's all.
Got my
This is the
juice.
surprise. They are welcoming you. And you see this banner?
Oh, look, it's leaves.
Isabella's welcoming.
Camouflage.
Calma
Calma
juice.
juice.
Oh, Galma juice, thank you very much. Galma juice.
Aha, Eliha. Całoida.
Why these people are here? They are welcoming you. This is very common in Georgian cultural way. The feast is intrinsic staple for Georgians. So any guest is welcome. But you particularly, you are second time.
I'm a
You are
returning
already friend.
guest. I'm now family, I'm not a guest anymore.
Yeah, of course. You are a friend.
What surprises me about Georgia is the amount of wine they drink, but they always drink it at Supra. And the Supra, it's a big feast, and it literally means tablecloth, because there's so many dishes that you actually can't see the tablecloth. And for them, wine is a real enhancement of life, but it's always drunk in the company of people that you love. The first I heard about this amazing country was that they were making these wines out of clay pots. They call them Qvevris, which is totally unheard of. It's a unique way of making wine. I hate oaky flavors, so for me it's perfect. And these pots are buried underground, and everybody has one in their back garden. This is fermenting wine, it's Saperavi, and they've literally just opened this up for us. And you can hear there's the bubbling, there's all the life and activity in that Qvevri. You turn up to somebody's house and they will open the whole Qvevri just for you. It's really juicy, it's really thick. In fact, there's still some bits of skin in there. Look at the color, I mean, it's like thick with life, really. Sick with life. As you would say, thick with life.
And this is amazing, Qvevri.
So last time I was here, this was just a hole in the ground. And what's really amazing is that, look at the size of this cellar. It's bigger than the house. And this is really typical. You know, they've got this amazing cellar in the back garden and make their own wine. And this is just like really typical of Georgia. And I want one. When I first came here, people making wine, they were all saying, oh, you must try this, and there were wines that were made in a sort of modern technique, using oak, maybe also international, well-known grape varieties. But for me, what makes a truly extraordinary wine is a wine that sticks to its tradition, is a wine that is made from its indigenous grape variety, because they are the grape varieties that are the best adapted to the climate. And I brought this back with me from the Supra. It's a homemade wine, and it's totally incredible. First of all, look at this color. It's amber, beautiful. And, you know, fundamentally, it's very unusual, and you need to keep an open mind when you try these wines for the first time. And the reason why is because, first of all, it's been made in a Qvevri, and then secondly, it's been made from an indigenous grape variety. And here I am in this experimental vineyard where they're reviving indigenous grape varieties with Tina. So how many indigenous grape varieties do you have here?
420 grape varieties out of 520
Oh my gosh,
which
here.
Georgia has, yeah.
Why has Georgia been turning towards modern winemaking?
I think after independence, there was a big influence of wine experts coming to Georgia, tasting the wines for the first time in their lives. But many people coming in were telling us that we should suit the taste of customers in Europe.
This is pretty shocking when you think about it, because what we're doing is we are playing a part in the standardization of wine, and we've got to stop this, because you're going to end up traveling the world, tasting wine everywhere, and frankly, everything is going to be tasting the same. We have got to preserve these strong traditions in places like this, because this is wine would have tasted like maybe 200, 300, 1,000 years ago.
There was another influence. This was more influence from Soviet period. Georgia was forced to aim mass production. Georgian grapes suffered because many of them got lost. We have 520 grape varieties, indigenous ones in Georgia, and only 32 are now in production. Just imagine the negative impact. That's why there is a need to gather them, because we do not know how they taste anymore.
No one in the world has this variety and this number of grapes.
There are research expeditions organized. You can find a grape variety in a family which has been kept for ages. So what these expeditions do, they go to every village in Georgia to find missing grape varieties.
Looking at this, seeing these indigenous grape varieties being revived and brought back to life. I mean, how amazing is that? This is Levan, who started this place and runs the vineyard, and he's going to show me some of his favorite grape varieties.
ეს არის კახეთის აბორიგენული ჯიში.
What's the name?
ადრეული თხელკანა.
Adreoli Trelkana.
თხელკანა.
Trelkana.
It means it's yielding early and has a very thin skin.
ეს ჯიში, როგორც ასეთი წარმოებაში ფართოდ არ არის გავრცელებული, იმდენად რამდენადაც ერთეული ძირების სახით იყო შემორჩენილი კოლექციებში. ქვეყანას გააჩნია დიდი პოტენციალი იმისათვის, რომ აწარმოოს ახალი გემური თვისებების ღვინოები, რომელიც სიახლე იქნება არა მარტო ევროპისათვის, არამედ მთელი მსოფლიოსათვის.
Georgia has this fantastic pool of indigenous grape varieties, and in some senses, I think that's what makes the old world more interesting than the new world, because you have got this variety of tastes and flavors. But what is truly unique and fascinating about Georgia is the Qvevri. Before I came to Georgia, I had this perception that I was going to come to an old Soviet country, grey and dull, but boy was I wrong. This country is lively, vibrant, full of fantastic wine traditions, and one of these brilliant wine traditions is something called Qvevri. The Qvevri is a clay vessel, and it's used to ferment the wine, it's used to store the wine, and they're actually quite hard to get hold of. So what people are doing is they're restoring all Qvevris. Like in this place, for example, this is an abandoned winery. There's hundreds of these big clay pots, basically, and look at that. They've been trying to dig one up, and obviously they're very fragile, but there's a team over there to dig up this Qvevri, so we're going to go and see what they're doing. So, Gela, tell me, why do you have to take the trouble to digging these things up rather than bringing new ones?
იმიტომ რომ შეუძლებელია დღევანდელ დღეს სადმე გაკეთდეს საქართველოში ამ ხელატევადობის ქვევრი და თან არის დატოვებული ჩვენი ისტორიული ტრადიცია ამაში და ჩვენ წინაპრების საპატივსაცემლოდ ამას ვარჩენთ.
ეხლა ეს ქარხანას, რასაც ხედავთ, 1000 ქვევრი, თითეული 4 ტონის და იმისის ჩამტევობის 4 ტონის.
How do you make your wines in these Qvevris, basically?
ღვინოს ვაყენებთ ქვევში ჭაჭაზე, ძველი კახური წესით 6 თვეზე ვაჩერებთ და ტოვებთ 6 თვის მერე ხსნით ღვინოს
კლიან ჭაჭაზე,
კლერტიანად ჭაჭიდან ვიღებთ ცალკე და შემდგომში ვაწვინდავებთ სხვა ქვევში და ამის დაყენების პროცესი არსებობს ჩვენი საუკუნოვანი.
Okay, let's get these babies out of the ground, shall we? I need a... This is so exciting. It's a bit like digging for treasure. Back home in the UK, I dig up old bottles and I have found all sorts of things. So this is obviously my biggest find. Stop not doing it, okay. I'm letting the professional do it. Otherwise, we're going to be here until tomorrow morning. It's super hard work. I'm worried they're going to break it, this thing which has been buried untouched. This is from 1979. But actually, if you look, some of these are 150-year-old Qvevris. So this is like a huge treasure hunt. It's so exciting because they're lying here, they're all peaceful and quiet, and then suddenly you stumble across something that looks like this really old, ancient piece of history, which is going to be then brought back to life. And that's the miracle of this tradition. But actually, digging these beauties out of the ground is only part of the restoration process, because you know, remember, you're going to be putting some juice, grapes, wine in here, so it needs to be totally clean. And now what I want to do is have a look and see how these things are done. Can you explain to me now what is the process of the reconditioning?
ახლა ცეცხლით ხდება ქროვის თიხის გახურება. შემდეგ ადუღებულ სანთელს უნდა ნტილოთი მოუსვათ გვერდებში. ხდება ფორების გაფართოება, როდესაც ეს გაფართოვდება, ამ დროს ჩვენ ვიხვდებით რა ფერი იქნება და წავუსვათ. დარჩება ასე ნატურალურად სუფთად და ეს არის ჩვენი ძველი მამპაპური ტრადიცია.
So the importance of these waxing processes for hygienic purposes. Normally when you get a new Qvevri, you put like a lime wash all around it. And what is the purpose of that?
პირველ რიგში კირი იცავს ესეც გარედან არანაირი მიკრობიოლოგიური პროცესისაგან, შიგნით თარუშვებს არანაირ დაავადებას, ეს არის მისი ანტისეპტიკი, რომელიც იცავს.
So it's time to put this thing into the ground. It's going to be used as a fermenting a vessel. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to run it around and bring it to the back where it's going to be buried. Five people just to roll it. You can see the difficulty. It's not just about reconditioning it, but it's also about putting it into the ground. It's got to maintain that constant temperature. You know, this is Gahed, it gets really hot here. All this hard work to produce this. The first time I saw one of these Qvevris, I was totally amazed because they're so unusual. I love their shape, which works really well for the fermentation process. I love the material, it's clay, so it's really, obviously really earthy. And as a result, the wine is obviously really different. So when you have the juice and the pips and the skin and the stems, what you do is you extract really, really different but gorgeous aromas. Now I'm rethinking the idea of having one in my own garden because I'm going to have to import the team to go with it and put it in. I'm going to meet up with my friend Eko again because Eko knows the Bishop of Alaverdi really well. So he's going to let us in the monastery and show us a brilliant part of monastic life. This is Alaverdi Monastery, where they make wine in a very traditional way using these Qvevris. And what we're about to see is a beautiful ceremony where they're going to open up an old Qvevri in order to bless the new wine, basically. And I think that's going to be a great way to see how intertwined, basically, you know, religion and wine are in Georgia. You can't remove one from the other, really.
But great holders of knowledge of Qvevri wine always were the monasteries. And now, when we are back reviving this tradition, the monasteries are first who are doing this. So what we are observing now, this is an old tradition, when they are opening the previous year harvest Qvevri wine to bless this year harvest.
Wow. And then it's the surprise of what it's going to taste like.
Of course, this is a miracle always. This Qvevri was sealed with using the clay layer, yeah? So now they have to cut this clay layer.
And when was the last time they opened it?
5 months ago.
Okay. That's the thing with these, isn't it? Because when you have a barrel, you can just turn the tap and taste and see what's happening.
Yeah.
But with these, you have no way of checking. They just have to trust that under there, everything is going okay. And it's a big reveal, and it's a great surprise, because in a way, they have no idea what it's going to be tasting like. Which is part of the fun, I think.
This is the most important moment, because all of them are dying with interest.
I know. Yeah, so are you nervous? Wow.
They are doing this move.
ესე იგი, ეხლა ესეთი ის არის, რომ ამ ძველი ღვინითა და ღვთისმალისა და კურთხევით ღმერთმა დაუწყო ახალი მოსავალი და Qvevri.
I mean, it's so good. It couldn't get any fresher than this. So this is, almost taking it away from the earth. We've got that amazing scent, this honey, acacia, and then on the palate, it's really intense. It's a bit like, sucking on a licorice stick. You've got that really sweetness coming through. And then the tannin, which is just the most amazing thing with these wines. If you can imagine dry honey, and look at this color. When you have a young wine, after 1 year, you would expect a white to be water white, but in effect, that is the beauty of Qvevri, that is the beauty of skin contact, and then the effect of this clay. So these are not white wines, they're orange wines, which is why in Georgia they have about 300 words to describe the color of a wine, and you can see why. We have to reinvent our vocabulary, so you could call it orange or amber. I had a conversation with the Badagoni guy who basically they've invested in this place and they have made this possible. The problem is they only make their white wine in the traditional Cajetian method, but their red wine goes into an oak barrel, which I think is a shame because it loses the purity. It's not about tradition anymore, and they're trying to mimic sort of the Western way of making wine. But I had a chat with him and I said, now you've got to promise me that you're going to be building more Qvevris and chucking your red grapes in there, so we also have a red wine made in that way. And then obviously I said, how about bio? How about organic grapes? And he said, okay, he promised me he was also going to look at that. So that's something else to watch out for. Last time I was here, Echo introduced me to this wonderful man called Yogi. He's written an encyclopedia on Georgian wine, and he also works for an association that promotes organic viticulture. You know everyone, don't you? You're the right person to hang out with.
No, that's not true. Just I'm never tired to face the new people, yeah?
Yogi! We'll follow you, okay? So Yogi, for years, has been collecting Qvevri and all bits and pieces that he's found, and some of them are 1,000 years old. This is my ideal cellar because I'm a collector, so I go around and I find old bottles, and this is even better because that's actually a proper cellar.
ეს არის ძველი ქართული საღვინე ჭურჭელი მთელი საქართველოდან. ყველაზე ძველი ექსპონატი არის ჩვენს წელთაღრიცხვამდე მე-3 საუკუნის დოქი, საღვინე დოქი.
But this is a wine jug.
Yes, this is a wine jug.
ის ჭურჭელი, რომელიც იმ დროში გამოიყენებოდა სასუფრე ჭურჭელი, სუფრისად.
How did you come to be so passionate and interested in all things wine?
ეს ენციკლოპედიის შექმნა და დაწერა გამოიწვია იმან, რომ დავიწყე ძველი ქართული საღვინე ჭურჭლის მოგროვება. და მე აღმოვაჩინე, რომ ამ ყველა ჭურჭელს აქვს თავისი საკუთარი სახელი. და მარტო ღვინის ჭურჭელს, საღვინე ჭურჭელს თითქმის 40-მდე სხვადასხვა სახელი აქვს.
How did you become interested in organic viticulture?
ერთოდ ეს მიმართულება ძალიან ახლოს არის ქართულ ტრადიციულ მეღვინეობასთან და მევენახეობასთან. ანუ იგივე იგულისხმება იგივე მაგალითად ჭურჭელი ქვევრი, რომელშიც თუ ვინოს დავაყენებთ, არ ჭირდება მას რაღაცა ჟელატინი და გამწებავის სხვადასხვა საშუალებები და ფილტრაცია და ეს თვითონ ხდება სტაბილური ქვევრში, ამ ჭურჭელში და აქედან გამომდინარე ძალიან ახლოსად დგას ბიომეღვინეობასთან. და ეს ჩემი ტრადიციების პრინციპში ტრადიციების სიყვარულმა და ინტერესმა მიმიყვანა ბიოსთან.
You know, I really believe that Qvevri in Georgia is the way forward. If you combine the Qvevri technology and winemaking with an organic vineyard, I mean, like, that's such an amazing position to be in.
Georgi thinks that this is just a product that the world needs.
Here's to all your hard work, Gamma juice.
So it was a toast.
It's like, it's got this aliveness about it. And it's almost like a bit like burnt caramel. You know, this is testament that you can make wine by, you know, looking after your land and the environment. And then when it hits the cellar by not adding anything, and you can still produce this. This is like a miracle of nature. And nature is great like that. If you leave nature to its own device, it will produce the stuff and it will deliver. If you start interfering, then that's when things start going wrong. So I'm off to Goria, which is in West Georgia, and they have this mad thing where they grow vines all the way up in the tree. So I'm gonna have a go at picking grapes all the way up there, which is super exciting because I have never seen it before. This is a great chance of having a look at some vines that will be probably as close as it would have got thousands of years ago before vineyards were cultivated, and because the vine is wild and it's a climbing plant. Okay. This is like an agricultural paradise with the cow, there's beans, there's corn growing up here. And now, more importantly, I understand why back then we domesticated vineyards, because it's so much work to pick your grapes. So we have a lot of options. I mean, look at this. It's growing all the way up that tree, but I think I'm gonna go for that one. That one? Is that okay? This one? Okay. I had to work really hard to convince them to come out in this weather, but I have never ever seen these grapes growing up so high, and I was dying to see it, so I got them out. Okay? My turn, I'm gonna have a go now. I'm not going to go very high because it's too high. It's too dangerous, it's too scary. But these grapes are delicious. In fact, they don't taste like grapes at all. They taste like berries, they taste like blackberries. This is like, I've never tasted anything like that before. It's quite extraordinary. Wow. Ah, there we go. Now I understand. The shape of this basket is so that it can go in and out of the tree really easily, and also it really protects the berries. This is why I love Georgia so much, because it is bursting with traditions that have been kept alive, you know, by local people in small villages. How amazing is it that you can still see these vines growing up in trees like this, almost like if it was in the wild. I've been invited back to a Supra, and a Supra is way more than just a feast and eating food with friends. You know, there's entertainment, people will start singing, there's a tamada who's the toastmaster and will deliver a series of toasts. It's a way of saying thank you to nature, and also thinking about traditions. So it's a real way of sharing a moment together. And I'm about to do a toast in Georgian, but I need to ask permission to tamada, to the toastmaster. Okay? Okay. Achal, Musavods, Gomajos. Yay! Gomajos. It means to this year's harvest. Jos! I'm going further into the mountain to a region called Raja, and I'm going to meet a great character. The locals call him the General because he wears army gear. And the last time I was here, his Kranjkara was my favorite wines. So it didn't surprise me when I learned that it was also Stalin's favorite wine and that Churchill and Roosevelt loved it. General Ruben! This Marani has been in Ruben's family for centuries, and it was started by his great-grandfather. Last time I was here, you were telling me how Stalin got hold of your wines.
წლები არის 1929 წელი. როცა სტალინის დავალებით ჩვენი საქართველოს უშიშროება მოაკვლია ჩვენ მოჯახამდე. რომ ღვინო იყო იქ საჭირო ამოუცხოელი პრეზიდენტების საბადივცემულოდ. და მოიდნენ და გასინჯეს ღვინო 170 ნიმუში ოხსენ შენამეს ჩვენი მიკროზონიდან. და ყველა ღვინოზე წინა პლანზე დადგა ჩემი მამის ღვინო. ახლა მე ვცდილობ იმას რომ ის ტრადიცია არ დავარღვიო და მეც გავაგრძელო ეს საქმე და მე მგონია მივაღწევ მიზანს.
So ever since he was a little child, he wanted to do the same as his dad and carry on this tradition of making wine, and he's now 81. And what we're going to do now is open up one of these qvevris which are buried here, clean them up, and then put the new harvest in to start the winemaking process. So this doesn't look like much. This is the unbelievable thing about these Maranis, these cellars, is that you walk in here and you wonder where the hell is the wine. But in fact, these qvevris are buried under this very thick layer of clay, which is acting as a protection. At the moment, what we're opening is an empty qvevri to wash it. Okay? Normally, what you would do is wash the qvevri several times until the water is clear. But what we're going to do now is we've got this qvevri that has been washed and it's drying, and this is where we're going to put the new wine in. And this is very magical because what we have here is a whole tree that has been carved out and turned into a wine press. We have berries, they've been fermenting in the juice for 5 days. And if you imagine, people would have been stomping in this wine boat, crushing the berries and releasing all the wine. So now we're about to pull the plug and we're about to get the wine out of this press and into the Qvevri. So what we're doing now is in a way filtering the skin, the pips out before it goes into the Qvevri. Yeah? Can I taste it? Thank you. It's so exciting because you see it, and then you help pour it into the Qvevri, and all I'm thinking about is what does it taste like? It's just wine, so it's like grown-up juice in a way, but it's wonderfully fresh and quite light in aromas. Oh, it's very good. It's very good. He knows it's very good. Ruben, I've come here to taste your ranchkara again. No, but just... Ranchkara. He's sold out of ranchkara, which is so gutting because I came all the way with the memory of that wine, which is really intense, but really velvety and really beautiful. So I'm just gonna have to live with that memory. But in a way, it's not surprising because it's not like when you have these big wineries with big bulk production and you've got almost wine on tap. He's mixed a little bit, as you can see, little boats at a time, and then when it's gone, it's gone. And it makes the wine really special. I'm astounded at the amount of knowledge that these people have, the ability to use nature like that. You don't need huge, sophisticated equipment to make wine. And it is brilliant that his two sons are taking over and will pass on this tradition to their own children. Because if this wasn't the case, and if we were to lose this knowledge and tradition, it would be a great loss to us all. An inaccessible area. We've had to pack all the gear with these oxen. And I'm off to see a Qvevri maker to see how these beautiful clay pots get made. Hello, I'm Isabelle. Hi, nice to meet you. You live in a Limassy, very beautiful place. I got interested in Georgia when I first tasted wines that were made in these clay pots, which is very rare and unusual. And it's so difficult to find wine regions that are doing things really, really differently. So I just wanted to come here and find out about this birthplace of wine because it's a story that really needs to be told. And here I'm with Angus, who's been making these clay pots for years. So, Angus, how long have you been making these Qvevris?
Almost the whole წელია რომ ვაკეთე. მინდოდა და ჩემი ხელობა ვისწავლე. ჩემი ვისწავლეს, მამაჩემ მომასწავლა.
So how do you actually make a Qvevri?
ემურმით მომაქვს თიხაი. ზები არ გვივარგა, ზები. მას მე ამ ხელებას მოვაქნით, ვაძლევ თავის ფორმას, ვალამაზებს ნერე კარგად კოხტას. ხელის ვაძლევ სილამაზეს და აი გავაკეთებ ახლა კიდე და ინახავ. Amazon მაგალითად ახლა გამოვა 100 ლიტრიანები.
So let's make one together and I'll watch you.
ქალები რო ისვამენ პომადას, აი ხო ლამაზია საღეზე. აი ეს ქალები. ისე უნდა გალამაზება, აი ჯუშტა სიკოხტავე უნდა.
Can I try? Okay. It looks really sturdy, but it really isn't.
სამოცდახუთი წლის სხვა არა ახლა. მამაჩემმა დაიწყო ხომ ასეთი პატარა Qvevrები. დიც ვერ აკეთებდა. მე გართულდა გლეხი ცხოვრობდა გამერიკანა აკეთებდა აღარ არის ახლა ძველი ხალხი და შემოურჩია ამ სოფელში თუ ვისანაც არ უნდა იკითხოთ ამ სოფელში დამთავრებული იქნება ეს მე რომ მოგდები ახლა არა გააკეთებს და მე მამავალი იმას არ აკეთებენ არ უნდა და მე მოგდება მუდამ არ ვიქნები მე ხერხერწები ჩემ ბიჭებს სხვა მეზობელს ასმა მაგა რო ვისწავლი მე რო ის ვისწავლი მაგა დრო უნდაო ის უნდაო
Of course, he's really worried about this because, you know, he's not teaching anyone. There's no one who wants to learn this craft. And currently, there are a handful of people with a real knowledge of, you know, which clay is the right clay, the real sense of building these Qvevris. But before Stalin time, there were over 1,000 people who knew how to do this. And can you imagine? I mean, this technique predates the Romans, it predates the Egyptians, and it would be such tragedy if it was lost, you know, for Georgia and for us. You know, I've been thinking about what I can do, but unfortunately I'm just this crazy French woman who's mad about wine and nature. Because although there are all these pockets of tradition everywhere, people don't really seem to understand why they're doing what they're doing. For example, Angus was telling me that he knows the shape of the Qvevri is fantastically well suited to be buried because of this conical shape, but he actually doesn't know why it's such a great shape to make wine. So I want to find out more, so I'm going to go back and talk to Levan Pruitse because he's been studying Georgian tradition and winemaking all his life.
დღეს უკვე მექვევრეები თითზე ჩამოსათვლელები არის. 33 მექვევრე მუშაობს პრაქტიკულად დღეს. ქვევრი ეგზოტიკა არ არის, ჩვენი ცხოვრების აუცილებლობა მისი აღდგენა. თუ ქართველმა ერმა ეს ტრადიცია დაკარგა, მაშინ ჩვენ როგორც ერი, სოფლიოს ერთ-ერთი უძველესი კულტურული ერი, ცივილიზაციის შემქმნელი ერი გავქრებით. ამიტომ სხვა მეცნიერებსაც და მეც და რაც გვაქვს ჩვენ უპირველეს ყოვლისა ამისი გამოქვეყნება უნდა მოხდეს ჩემი ოცნება არის და სრულიად კანონზომიერი სურვილია რომ ქართველ მეცნიერებს დაუგდოს ყური ჩვენმა ხელისუფლებამ და ჩვენ იმ დონის მეცნიერება კი გვაქვს რომ ჩვენს ქვეყანას უშველონ ჩვენმა მეცნიერებმა და ჩვენმა მეცნიერულმა აზრმა.
So talking to Levan, there are very few people who are fighting to keep this tradition alive, and those who are fighting are struggling. I've decided that I'm going to bring all the movers and shakers of the wine trade here to have a Supra and convince them how precious this heritage and this tradition is. But I'm a little bit nervous because I don't really know where the conversation is going. In there's some people who make wines using the Qvevri methods, people who don't use Qvevri, so I'm just going to throw out there a whole lot of questions and we'll see where it goes. Hello. Are you okay? I invited a few people that I've met along my trip. There's Yogi came, there's Echo down there. I've also got Levan who agreed to come, and then Bishop, it's a big honor that he came here. So, all of you, thank you so much for coming here. When I first came to Georgia, you know, I was really blown away. And what I realized is that actually outside of Georgia, people don't really know about this amazing tradition. And it's almost disappearing. How can we invest ourselves into making a difference?
I think one of the big answers has to come from the professional organization.
Perhaps we could create like some sort of Qvevri foundation or where we could pool all the resources and maybe have this place where information would be gathered, which would be available in English.
So we need brave enough people to start to do this.
Port wine for Portugal is known, and I don't think they need to protect. It's already no doubt about it. Tokaj, Hungary, for example, right? So same thing has to be Qvevri for Georgia and technology of Qvevri wine.
Even just getting people here together today, I mean, is that
This is a unique situation. We're having everyone together, and this is only the start and the beginning of a big process, and I think you are part of history now, being here, initiating this.
So I'd like to toast to your gorgeous tradition, to Qvevri, the art of making the wines in these Qvevris and the art of making the bloody thing. Gamajos! I have to say, this is really brilliant. You know, I really hope that back there they keep in touch and they work together to get Qvevri wines out there. But you know what? It's going to be very difficult for me to top this country. You know, wine is so entrenched in everybody's life. I even heard of somebody who lives in an old Soviet bloc in the center of Tbilisi, and he has a Qvevri in his basement. I've had a fantastic time trying to understand what makes these passionate Latin-like people tick, and I will do my bit to champion what they're about. And of course, they've got to do their bit to get to grips with their tradition, but we have got to give them a chance as well. You know, after all, this is where wine began, and we owe it to wine itself.